Welcome back to the channel, guys. It is me, 87 for 4. So today, guys, we do our Champions League final preview. So we got the 2025 Champions League final, and that is PSG Inter Milan versus PSG. Now, what's very interesting with this final in particular is that both these teams have come from leagues that are very much disrespected by majority people. When majority people talk about their favorite leagues to watch, most people do not pick Serie A and Ligue 1. Most people say these are the two farmers' leagues, and that these leagues are very much one-sided and usually get the same team that wins it again and again, which I don't think is true. I mean, you can make the argument for Ligue 1. I mean, PSG obviously win the league every season, so that's not really saying much. But for Serie A, it's not been a farmers' league. If you actually look at the recent winners, we haven't had a team that do back-to-back Serie A titles in the 2020 decade. Now, maybe you could say before 2020 it was, but basically before afterwards it's not been. So, and what's also really interesting is that this final is a final that I don't think many people predicted at the start of the season. If you had told people at the beginning of the season which two teams would make the Champions League final, people would probably say Barca, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Manchester City, even Arsenal. I think was more picked. And the fact that both these teams made the final kind of under the radar is pretty impressive, especially PSG to do it post Mbappe. There's also a PSG narrative. Imagine they win the Champions League and their first season without Kylian Mbappe. That'll be a pretty strong narrative. And for Inter, the narrative is they could be the first Italian team to win this win the Champions League post 2010. And remember, Inter were in the Champions League final a few years ago, 2023, and PSG as well, 2020. So both these teams have lost Champions League finals in the 2020 decade and now have an opportunity to either lose another final or to finally win in the 2020 decade. So a lot of interesting narratives on the line here for this one. And I think this final is very interesting. It's also interesting that this final is probably 50-50. We haven't had a Champions League final that's 50-50 for quite some time, as also the fact that neither of these teams were really favorites to begin the season to make the Champions League final. So that's what makes this final so interesting, guys, and that's why I'm so super looking forward to this final. So let's now go with the tactics, guys. Let's start with Inter. So when you look at this Inter Milan team, obviously coached by Simone Inzaghi, they're going to be playing at 3-5-2. Now, I'm recording this on Saturday, May 24th, so by the time you guys may have seen this, some players may have been injured post then, but assuming that no injuries happen, this is the lineup we expect. So we're going to see Sommer in goal, without a doubt. He's going to be there. Of course, he was man of the match against Barca. He was tremendous in that second leg, making those key saves. I expect him to start in the net. Then obviously Dervai is also great. Bastoni and Cherby, that partnership at the back is great. You got Chano, Mkhitaryan being that double pivot. You got Barella being the central attacking mid, Dumfries, who had a fantastic game against Barca, and DeMarco being the left back there, then Turam and Martinez. So I'm looking at this Inter team. I really don't see a lot of weaknesses in this team. I think this Inter team is very well balanced. I think the one potential weakness is maybe Mkhitaryan. I think he's probably the worst Inter player in that 11. And maybe you could also say maybe a Cherby as well, due to their old age and everything. And so, but I do feel like this Inter team is still very balanced. I still think this Inter team don't really have much issues, and I feel like what makes them so dangerous is how much space they have in transition. And defensively, they're very difficult to break down. They don't concede a lot of goals in general. So I do feel like that's going to be interesting in the sense how PSG navigate through. And I feel like Inter will play a lot in transition in this game, on the counterattacks in particular, and that's going to cause PSG a lot of problems in that regard in particular. Now we look at PSG. When you look at the PSG 11, I expect them to play with Donnarumma in goal. Obviously, Donnarumma's been fantastic this season in the Champions League. He's been fantastic. He's having a revelation. Nuno Mendes at the left back, I think will be great. Will be huge. Hakimi at the right backs, fantastic. And then Marquinhos being the center back, being the leadership captain, of course. Bachko, who's had a tremendous season. I think he's been very underrated. We got Joao Neves, who's a physical beast who can offer the physicality and offer the physical sense. And then you got Vitinho, who's a technical midfielder. You got Fabian Ruiz, that's also there as well. And then Doué, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia. So this PSG team, as you can see, have a very lot of pacey players and are very fast and very technical, very speedy. And it's a very young team as well. With the exception of Marquinhos, this is a very young team. There's not a lot of old players on this team. And so that is one thing they have over Inter is that they have the younger team, the more fresher team. And we've seen PSG in the Champions League in the early state, in the knockout state in particular. They've scored early goals against both Liverpool and Arsenal and against Aston Villa. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out here. As for PSG, I think the weakness is Marquinhos. I think he's the biggest weakness of this PSG team because he's prone to making mistakes in high-profile games. As we've seen in the recent seasons Champions League when PSG have been eliminated, he's largely been at fault. So besides Marquinhos, though, I think this team is very good. So I feel like this team is still very, very dangerous. And of course, a coach under Luis Enrique. And remember, Luis Enrique won the treble with Barca 2015. So can he do the same with PSG, win a treble, another treble here in 2025? So, guys, which team do I have winning the final? I got Inter to win this. I just feel like for me, even though I think PSG have improved a lot, and I do think PSG is a very good team, the reason why I don't have PSG to win this is primarily because of the defense. I just think that defense for me is very shaky. I don't trust that defense. And even though Inter's defense also looked very shaky as well against Barcelona, I do feel like Inter's defense is more resolute and more compact, more solid. And I just don't trust PSG's defense, especially with Marquinhos. I just don't trust Marquinhos whatsoever. And I just feel like because PSG I don't think have played against a team like Inter. I think that's going to cause a lot of problems. So they just got Inter to win this. I think Inter will finally be able to do this, and I think they'll save their season. Because let's be real, guys, if Inter do not win this final, they'll have a disastrous season, and they need to win this for their season's sake. And who knows who's going to get a better opportunity in the future because this team is very old. So I got Inter to win the Champions League final, man. So I hope you guys did enjoy this preview, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Remember, guys, to like and subscribe as well. Consider becoming a YouTube member as well. Helps the channel grow. Get access to members video, get access to videos, members emojis, all the good stuff. And yeah, like I said, guys, it's only $1 per month. So I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.